Hi, in this lesson, we're going to take a look at using VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP will locate and return data from another worksheet for us. We are here on the order worksheet and we have two parts and we're looking for the cost and the description of each. We already have a place where we have how many of each part has been ordered, and there is a formula here that will give us the total cost of those parts that have been ordered. But the information we're looking for lives on this worksheet here, parts. And there's not a ton of data here. We could scroll down and try and find what we're looking for. And in fact, as we go through this, you'll see I have them already highlighted in yellow for us. But on a much larger worksheet, this would be a lot more work. And that's why we want to use VLOOKUP to find that data. So let's go back to the order worksheet and let's get started with VLOOKUP. We're going to click here in B2 in the cost column for the first item Q-2N2659. VLOOKUP, and VLOOKUP, the V stands for vertical. VLOOKUP is going to look for this value in the first column of this worksheet, this array. And once it finds it, it will bring back the data from whichever column we tell it to. It'll go down that row, and in our case, it's going to be looking for this and this. So let's go ahead and let's get started. We're going to go to our Formulas tab, and under Lookup in Reference, we're going to scroll down until we find VLOOKUP. And we get our function arguments box. Now, let's go through this. The lookup value. The lookup value, we've already said, is here in A2. And I'm going to select A2. I'm going to get the cell reference there. And you see that it gives me the value out here to the right. Okay, table array. Now the table array refers to this table. And I could click and drag and try and select all of the information that I'm looking for. I could type in the range if I knew what it was. But in my example, and let's cancel this, what I have previously done is I have named the array parts. And you see it selects that entire array. And this is another good example of why you would want to name your arrays to use them in formulas. Because we know in large groups of data, sometimes it's hard to click and drag. So let's go back to Lookup and Reference. VLOOKUP, our lookup value, table array is parts. And once I type the name of the array, you see it's starting to list that data. Column index number. Now the column index number refers to which column we want to bring that data back from. So let's go down, let's find, this is our lookup value. This first cell here, A187. And the column index number, it wants the number of the column in the array. This is relative to the array. So in other words, not column B, but column 2, because it is the second column in the array. So we need to get rid of this. We'll delete that and we'll simply put in column index number 2, because we're looking for the value in the second column. Now, we see that we already have an answer, 2.4, or in other words, $2.40, which we see here. So far, it's already working. But let's go back to our order and get rid of all of that. And we're going to talk about the range lookup. This is an optional field, but it's important to understand what it's for because it affects how VLOOKUP returns the value. When we look down here, we see range lookup is a logical value to find the closest match in the first column. And then in parentheses, it says sorted in ascending order. So what that means is if that column is sorted in ascending order, it will return the closest match if you type in the word true. See, it equals true or omitted. Omitted means blank. So right now, it's actually only looking for the closest match. Now, coincidentally, it happens to be 2.4 for us, but it may not always be correct. If you continue on with this sentence, you'll see find an exact match equals false. So to make sure that you get an exact match, if that's what you're looking for, you should really type in the word false. And once I do that, you see I still have 2.4. So let's go ahead and we'll click OK. And we have our answer. Now, let's go ahead and let's do it again with the description. Look up and reference. Actually, before we do that, I want to come back here because description is in column 3. So let's go ahead and let's do this again. Look up and reference. VLOOKUP. Our lookup value is still A2. The table array is still parts. And the column index number this time is 3. In the range lookup, we still want that exact match. So we're going to type in false. And we see our description is QA transistor. We click OK, and if we double check, we see that that is indeed correct. Now we can autofill this down on both of these. And if we come and double check, it's 55 cents silicone red O-ring. And it is indeed 55 cents silicone red O-ring 118, 127. So that worked. Now let's go ahead and let's do another one. Let's come back to this page, grades. Now you don't have to return data from a different worksheet. It can be on the same worksheet as well. This one, we see that we have the average grade for all of our students here. And we're going to look so that we can see that average score and bring back their grade from this little table here. And this table is sorted ascending. So what we're going to do is start here. We're going to click on Lookup and Reference, and we'll come down to VLOOKUP. Our lookup value is going to be here in the average column, 93 for the first one, or E2. And you see it's returned 93. Now, the table array, I haven't named this table. And we could click and drag. It's a small table. And the range is, oh, I'm in the wrong cell. So let's do this again. I forgot to move down. Table array. Let's try this again. There we go. And it is H1 to I6. And you can see that it's returning that data. Now, column index number. Remember, our array in this case is only 2 columns. Column 1, column 2. Not column H and I. It is relative to the array. So our column index number is 2. And you see it's bringing us back an A. Now, the range lookup, because we're not looking for an exact match, we're just looking for the closest match to, in this case, 93, which would be an A. So we can leave this at true or blank. I'm going to type in true and click OK. And we have our A. Now, if we go ahead and autofill to bring it down, we start to have some problems. And that's because remember how autofill works. If we look, we see value not available. But if we look at our formula, let's open it up. It's looking for the value in E6, which is fine, but the table array is now H5 to I10. Not only did autofill fill down the lookup value, but also the array. So when it got to H5 through H10, it had a lot of blank cells, which is why we have this error. Again, this is another great reason to name this array. So let's cancel this. Let's delete all of this. And let's name our array. We're going to call this grades. Now, if we go ahead, do our VLOOKUP, and we choose the lookup value, E2, our table array is now grades. So we'll always refer to that array. Column index number is still 2. And our range lookup is true. We click OK. And now, if we autofill, everything worked out just fine. So now you know a little bit more about how to use VLOOKUP. That's it for this lesson. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.